Good evening and welcome to the February 18th, 2021 Board of Education meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Dwan Craft to lead us in the invocation and to also lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. So I'm reading from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff at Work by Richard Carlson. Join my new club, TGIT. Until now, the business world was made up of two clubs. The most popular club by far was the TGIF club, or Thank God It's Friday. To be a member of this club, your primary focus is on the weekend. Members think about, anticipate, and look forward to Fridays so that they can get away from their work. Most members are highly stressed because only 2 days of the week are considered good days. Even Sunday is considered a stressful day because the next day they have to go back to work. The other business club is substantially smaller, yet in some ways the members are more dedicated to the club. This one is called TGIM, or Thank God It's Monday. These members are usually workaholics who can't stand weekends because they are away from work. Members of this club are also highly stressed because while there are generally 5 days of the week to be preoccupied with work, there's always that darn weekend that gets in the way. The most difficult day of the week is usually Friday because it often means the member won't be able to get back to work for a few days. They may try to work on weekends, but the demands of family get in the way. They may even try to work on needless to say, members of both clubs think that members of the other club are completely nuts. I invite you to join an alternate club. My hope is that together we can eventually achieve 100% membership. In fact, I'd love to put the other two clubs out of business altogether. This new club is called TGIT, or Thank God It's Today. Members of this club are happy 7 days a week because they understand that every day is unique and each brings with it different gifts. Members of this club are grateful to be alive. They rejoice in their many blessings and expect each day to be full of wonder, surprise, and opportunity. There are no qualifications necessary to join the TGIT club other than the desire to have a higher quality of life and the desire to appreciate rather than dread each day. Members of this club understand that it's useless to wish any day were different. They know that Mondays don't care if you like them or not. They simply go on being Mondays. Likewise, Fridays will come around every seventh day, whether you wish it were Friday or not. It's up to each of us to make each day as special as it can be. No amount of wishing will make the slightest bit of difference. As simple as it seems, the desire to maintain a membership in this club can make a substantial difference in the attitude you carry with you at work and, in fact, in all of life. Just think, if you wake up every day of the week with an attitude of, I'm glad today is today, I'm going to make this day as positive and wonderful as I possibly can, you may be surprised at how much less stressed you'll be. This simple shift of attitude goes a long way toward a more positive experience of life and work. And let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Craft. Okay, we have the privilege tonight to be swearing in our new student board members, Albert Mercado and Daniel Walker, and we also have the privilege of Ray Matusco, the clerk of our Currituck County Superior Court, here tonight with us to do the honors. Mr. Matusco.
Superintendent Dr. Lutz, Madam Chair, and the entire school board, thank you for inviting me out to do this. It's truly an honor to administer the oaths, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. So I guess we'll go by alphabetical order, and we'll have Albert Mercado come up. And if you have a parent here with you that you'd like to hold the Bible for you, bring him up. Go ahead, right up there, the left there.
Now you go up with them, hold the Bible to you. Let's see. I'll take pictures for you.
Oh.
That's a good part of it.
Facing this way? Yeah, face me, and he'll put his left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. All right? First of all, I want to say congratulations. This is a huge honor for you, and I know this is going to serve you well going forward.
Can we remove the mask?
Yes. All right. Do you, Albert Mercado, solemnly swear that you'll support the Constitution of the United States and that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
I do.
And do you, Albert Mercado, further swear that you will perform the duties of a student board member for the Currituck County School Board to the best of your knowledge, skill, and ability, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, Albert. At this time, we have Daniel Walker.
Daniel, I want to personally congratulate you. This is an awesome opportunity for you, and you should be very, very proud.
Thank you very much.
Put your left hand on the Bible.
Brother left.
The other left hand.
Okay. Do you, Daniel Walker, solemnly swear that you'll support the Constitution of the United States and that you'll be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you'll endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
I do.
And do you, Daniel Walker, further solemnly swear that you will well and truly perform the duties of a student board member for the Currituck County School Board to the best of your knowledge, skill, and ability, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Ray. We really appreciate it. Ms. Jones, do we have anyone that has signed up this evening? Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The agenda is approved. This time I'd like to call on Dr. Matt Lutz, our superintendent, to tell us a little bit about our strategic plan.
All right, thank you. Well, good evening. It's we're very excited tonight to we've talked about a strategic plan for several months, and we vetted several different vendors, and we landed on a group called the Mitchen Group, and we think it's going to be a great fit for our county and for our school system. The Mitchen Group brings a calmness and just with a rich history of working with large districts, working with universities, and also businesses. And so throughout this process, we're going to be working extensively with our county, both the county government and our community, as we craft our strategic plan. So we're very excited to partner with Mitchen Leadership and Organization and Development. So our proposed timeline, this is quite a lift. We need to get moving, and the original timeline had us starting in January and early February, and given we were starting up our high school, getting kids back, and this is anything but a normal year, we pushed it back a little bit. So we're going to start with our core leadership team, and that's going to kick off on March 12th. Invitations for this group are going to go out next week. It will be a range of stakeholders that we're going to reach out to and provide them an invitation, and we're excited to get that group formed and start our data gathering. What that group is going to do is they're going to facilitate the strategic planning process throughout the county. It's quite a undertaking, but the results and the outcomes will help guide us for the next 3 to 5 years.
All right, as we move into March and April on that proposed timeline, you'll notice that we're going to begin collecting some data from stakeholders, and those stakeholders will run a variety of different facets of our community, everything from students and parents, teachers, classified staff with our school system, to Chamber of Commerce, business owners, all those folks who have a vested interest here with us in Currituck County Schools. Those sessions will run either virtually or in person, depending, of course, on safety guidelines. And for folks who may not be willing to come out and participate face-to-face, we'll hopefully offer some virtual options as well for that information to be collected.
As I mentioned, the March 12th date earlier, we're also going to bring our Board of Commissioners and our Board of Education together on March 23rd. And our facilitator is going to come and join us and kick off the process during our joint meeting. So I know there's a lot of excitement between both boards to get this process moving and start the good work for our county. So in April and May, we're going to have full-day meetings with working groups to share and discuss the findings. We're going to analyze data, and ultimately what we're going to come up with is a working group that comes to the consensus on the state of Currituck County Schools. And in partnership with our local government, we're going to identify our areas of strategic focus. And what we're looking for here is 3 to 5 areas, not 15 areas. And those 3 to 5 areas are going to guide our work over the next 5 years. And we're very, again, I keep using the word excited to get this up and rolling. It's the number of people that are going to be involved in this is going to be extensive, and it'll provide us very clear ideas on what our strategic focus will be. I did want to note at this time that while we're working on our overall district strategic plan, we have also been working on a curricular strategic plan that is focused solely on our curriculum and providing a robust curriculum for across our K-12 spectrum. And so that will be going on simultaneously, but in a much smaller scope, whereas the strategic plan is on a large scale.
So after we wrap up the identification of those strategic focus areas, then begins the work of really creating those goals and where we see ourselves. And so we'll create SMART goals, and for those of us in education, we know that that acronym stands for goals that are measurable and achievable. And so we will take that group will then develop those SMART goals, and as part of that, we'll then create action teams. And those action teams are really the ones assigned to seeing that goal be put into fruition and measuring and collecting data along the way to let us know whether or not we're working towards meeting that goal.
So some of our expected outcome beyond the actual goals of the plan is this is an opportunity to grow leaders across our district and across our county, and what a great opportunity here. When we sit down and we start creating our list of stakeholders that are going to be involved in identifying different leaders throughout our county and different leaders in our building, this allows us to build capacity so that when people would grow or they would want to jump to a new position, that we've already begun that process.
Of course, when you engage lots of different people and different stakeholders, there's a vested interest, and so we're excited about the opportunity to let everyone. Lots of folks are good at telling us how to do our jobs, but this is a great way to involve folks in helping us to see where we're heading and to be part of this process, investing in this process with us.
So again, this is the vision in our plan, and I mentioned the 5-year. It's a 3 to 5 year, and we'll revisit these goals, and it is ongoing work. I'm excited to note as well, while we're doing this plan, we also have a 10-year facility plan that is occurring. That's going to take about a year to get our information back. And at the same time, simultaneously with the 10-year facility plan, we're also looking at our growth plan as well for the county. We've partnered with North Carolina State, and so those two groups are working simultaneously, and it'll provide a 10-year growth plan in addition to the facility plan. So a lot of work that is going on, good work that's going to continue to guide us into the near and distant future.
And of course, as we work on this important work in front of us, we take those state goals. Our State Board of Education sets goals for all LEAs across North Carolina, and then those goals get passed down to the district level. We take and create our own strategic plan at the district level, and that then filters down to our schools and our school improvement plans that are alive and well in each building. And as part of that process, once we can line things up and get those processes in place and have some authenticity behind them, obviously, our goal is to get our high school accredited and also look at possibly in the near, maybe distant, not so distant future, district accreditation as well.
Do you have questions?
That sounds great, yes.
If we don't happen to be on a committee, are we allowed to make suggestions for this committee to consider?
I think he's talking about us.
Oh, you'll be a big, the board is going to have plenty of input.
You were talking about us, right?
Especially that joint meeting that Dr. Lutz mentioned, the joint meeting between our Board of Education and our Board of Commissioners, that will be a perfect opportunity for you to share those things, Dr. Dobney.
And it will be.
Going to ask, how do we narrow it down? There's so many directions that we could take. How do we narrow it down to the top 4 or 5? That would probably be my question, and you may not know, but is it more input or need-based, or, that determination would be something that I'd like to know.
So what happens is it's a facilitated process, and all of that, the data and comments, both qualitative and some quantitative, are put into one, and what emerges are the themes that are most important for our community and for our schools.
And I'm assuming that this group, with their experience in all areas, are going to be the ones that will kind of guide us and lead us into that.
That is correct.
For that decision.
Ms. Dowdy and I are going to be the co-chairs of the group, and this group will be providing the heavy lift behind the scenes.
Good.
And also in front
Yeah.
on certain meetings. So they're going to come in for they'll be here for the meeting that we have on the 12th. They'll be here on the meeting on the 23rd, and we'll identify other dates where they come in and work with our stakeholders as well.
And Dr. Lutz, I guess they'll tell us which tools to use, such as if we do these surveys, like with parents or with the community and other elected officials and things like that. Is that kind of what you mean as far as getting input?
Yes. And so our initial kickoff meeting on the 12th will involve, we'll have identified parents, we'll have identified different community members, we'll identify teachers within the buildings, administrators within the buildings, and so on, to help facilitate the process.
These stakeholders that you're talking about, parents and community, teachers, as Dr. Dobney just mentioned, if we're not chosen, can we still give input? Will we be soliciting volunteers out of these stakeholder groups, or will they be picked?
We're going to pick leaders to get it off the ground, and then there will be vast opportunities for all people to have input. We're going to have someone from every building at the table, for example, and then also parents and so on, and the board will be part of that all the way through, aware of what's going on. It's a completely inclusive process, but you can't be run by 1 or 2 people. There's so much. There's interviews that need to occur, for example. So we need to talk to each board member needs to be interviewed, and so not one person can facilitate that process. Each board of commissioner may want to. They may also get the same component, but I could not ask Karen, for example, to run one of the groups necessarily. To take that different and go through each one. So we're targeting different pieces, but everyone will have that opportunity. There'll be, as we mentioned, they'll have opportunities, some in person and some online through Google Meets and so on and so forth.
But we'll kind of open it up and maybe to parents, community members, and say, if you're interested in being a part of this, please contact us, and then we'll.
So we will have a meeting where we go to the parents and have a facilitated group.
Okay.
So I don't want to confuse. So we need people to run the point. Mm-hmm. They're not the ones giving the input. They're the ones leading the process. Does that help? So we're not just getting input from 10 people. Right. We're getting input from hundreds of people throughout. We need different people to lead the process to gather the information.
So I'm assuming that these meetings, or that we will have people that specify an interest, and an area that they want, then
Correct.
they can be included in that group. I think, is that where you're going with that,
Well,
Janet?
I
That
just
you
want to
didn't
make
want us
sure
to be handpicking?
everybody has an opportunity rather than like, say, for instance, school improvement team. You
Right.
need a parent serving, so we call and say, so-and-so, will you serve on this? I just want everybody to be able to give input.
The more people that give their input, the more data that we collect, the better the plan will be.
Okay.
So
I
our
think it's
goal
a-
is to have as much. I hope that we have over 1,000 people
Right.
that provide quality input to provide us with our guidance on the plan.
And teachers.
Facilitator.
That's correct.
They're facilitators to drive the process because there's so much information that has to be collected in a relatively short amount of time. So it wouldn't be. We have to be selective in who those people are because we have to also be cognizant of their time, positions, and roles. But they are not, they don't get any more say. In fact, we are specifically, we don't want people we need people to be open and inclusive. They can't push a personal agenda. It'll be very scripted.
Okay.
Imagine Currituck. If you remember the county's push to reimagine Currituck and the Imagine Currituck, where everybody, citizens, got to put input into what you thought Currituck was going to be like in 20 years, 25 years. It'll be very similar to that. So everybody's going to have the opportunity. We just will have a core leadership team that will be in charge of facilitating those interviews, collecting those survey results, doing those types of hands-on, touching people, getting that data, collecting that information.
We understand your question. I mean, they're spot on. We had to meet several times to wrap our heads around exactly how this process is going to work. And even though we're doing this.
Now it'll probably be tweaked
Yes.
along the way of what's working and what's not working and the best way to move forward. But I think it's a great plan, and I think that would help the community, teachers, staff, students, all of us to work towards one common goal. So I think the more input, the better. I think that's what you're saying too.
Yeah.
Ms. Rose, just collect as many opinions and positive comments and what they would like us to work towards. So I think it's a great plan.
Well, I'm sure if this mission group has done this numerous times,
Yes.
they know the most efficient way to operate.
Right.
We thought it was very important to have an outside vendor do the work. It adds just a different level. There's no attachment, and they bring a great deal of experience.
What is the cost of this?
$15,000.
And we're paying for it, or the county?
We are paying for it.
Okay.
And what's the time frame on it again?
It'll be completed by June.
Okay.
Oh, wow, okay.
So by June is where they've collected or helped facilitate all this data, and then they're going to put it all together and make recommendations to us, and then we kind of
Well,
set
we'll
the
have
goals.
those goals, right.
Like the 3 to 5.
It'll be the goals. Yep. The information and the data gathering and the information collecting will drive the goals.
Okay. Anyone
Sounds good.
have any other questions?
I think it sounds good.
I do too. It sounds really good. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lutz.
You're welcome.
And Ms. Dowdy. Tag team on that one. Budget amendments. Larissa York, our Chief Financial Officer. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Congratulations. Thank you. Tonight I'll be asking for a vote for budget amendment number 3, which you guys should have in your packets. The first page is going to tell you that we have an increase of revenue of $974,657.97, which gets us almost to $50 million. Not quite, but
Not
almost.
quite.
Next time we'll be there. If you would turn to page 1, I'll start telling you about that revenue and the changes that the budget amendment is making. So page 2 is showing you the state public school fund changes, and on the top you see the expenses, and there is your purpose code budget amendment that you can see the changes there. And the next section is the revenues, and those are the revenues that have come in, and I have them by bucket. So in school finance, Revenue comes in by PRC, by bucket, and we have lots of them. So you're going to see lots of these changes in all the buckets. But the board has to approve the budget amendment by purpose code or by the expense changes. So that's why you're seeing two different sections. So state public school fund revenue has changed because of additional allotments and adjustments in different PRCs, such as a new teacher orientation. We received some sub pay, ABC transfers, transportation allotment. We got some more transportation money, and developmental day allotment, which helps to pay for our EC, some of our EC students. It also records any budget transfers requested by individual departments. Okay. Any questions on that page?
This was almost a $400,000 increase in operational support services.
So those are ABC transfers that I did to PRC 056 and PRC 003. And we transferred money to keep our bus drivers working during the COVID shutdown. So I was able to take money from our transportation, PRC 056, and move it to 003, which was the only place I was allowed to pay them out of. But we did it, and we kept them working. So that was a big payroll expense.
I'd like to add that this board supported the bus drivers by providing employment throughout the COVID crisis, and many counties did not do that. They did lay our bus drivers off, and food and nutrition. But we were supportive.
And they did an amazing job.
They did an amazing job, and we've also been able to find other ways to provide support in our buildings through custodial work and so on and so forth. So we thank our transportation department for that.
And we did the same for nutrition services also. We did some ABC transfers to keep them working during the COVID shutdown also.
Was that the last year's part of it, where at the end of the year we were, or is that all this year?
That was this year.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And CARES Act money is all money soon we received from the state through the federal government.
Yeah, well, we receive it through the federal government and also through the state. Okay, so that's a good point. We were told that CARES Act money had to be spent by December 31st. So everybody scrambled. I did a ton of ABC transfers. They allowed us to they threw all the rules out the window and we could use the money for anything. So I made a lot of ABC transfers out of state funds to help pay for that huge Chromebook cost that we had. So I was able to move some federal money to state money. And now we have federal money to get us through longer. I know there's a lot of black on this sheet, but there was a lot taking place.
That was to make sure that our K-1 had the support for being able to be.
Right, I believe we bought
We actually purchased laptops all the way
Right,
K4.
that's what I thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
right through
Right.
fourth grade. Okay, any other questions on that page? Okay, let's turn the page. Talk about local current expense fund. We got $114 in the door. Woo! All right. so that's our local revenue for this sheet. And then I have some budget transfers that were requested from the individual departments. Any questions on those? Okay. Turn the page. We'll talk about federal grants. Our federal grants, we received some increases to a couple federal PRCs, 017, 049, 118, 119, 165, and 166. Two of those are the CARES Act money. There's some federal CARES Act money that came into us. One was for K-8 curricula, and one was for Canvas licenses. So that was a good chunk of money that we received from CARES Act. Any questions on that page? Okay. Let's turn to capital outlay. Capital outlay, we have some new revenue here. This records an additional $300,000 in funding from the county. Dr. Lutz, would you like to speak to that?
The county originally had reduced our capital outlay budget by $400,000. They had a budget amendment in December, and they are now. We're very thankful that they have continued to support our schools, and they have added $300,000 for this one, and we expect more money to drop in the near future.
That was when they reduced it because they didn't know what COVID was going to do to tourism
That's correct.
and their revenue, so they were able to fund us.
Yes, they were, and then they had projected a loss across multiple departments, and so they were being cautious, and ironically, we ended up having of course, an amazing year here.
Good.
And then we also appropriated $78,000 more from fund balance for the facility survey, and then the rest went into contingency. Any questions on that page?
Some of the additional sales tax that come in, do you anticipate any lottery funds increasing for capital outlay?
Oh, increasing? I don't know.
So that's going to be a Matt Mullins question in terms of he works directly with those lottery funds, and he's working to make a few changes there.
Every year we always have a portion allotted to us, but I don't know the ins and outs of how, but when we get more, when we lose, I'm not sure how that works exactly. So I really don't know the answer to that question. All right. Okay, one more page. Other local revenue. So this is Fund 8. This is where all of our other little grants are. We have a lot of black on this page too. This revenue came from Medicaid deposits, NC pre-K monies, and different local grants. So there you see revenues at the bottom or in the middle of the page, and then your transfers and where we put that money in the top of the page. Are there any questions on that page?
There's students that need outside services. What pot of money does that come from? Say we have to send them to Virginia to get the services they need.
So we pay them out of numerous pots. We start to pay them out of the state 032 EC fund. And then Jamie Miller works diligently to get grants to cover as much as she can. So throughout the year, you'll see different grants coming in for her people, or for her pots. Let's see. We got some Medicaid money in. If Medicaid we will use as an end resort.
I saw that and wondered if that was.
And the grants don't pay for it, then we'll dip into Medicaid.
It's a mix of a variety of funds.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if we can't find grants or we don't get our Medicare reimbursements, which sometimes takes up to 2 years, then it hits our local funds as well. So it's always a mix.
Yeah.
And since you're not guaranteed grant funds, that always makes you nervous.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So I would like to ask for a vote to pass budget amendment number 3. So our total appropriation in the current amended budget is $49,997,671.51.
I move that we accept budget amendment number 3 as presented.
Second.
I have a first, I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. York, for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Dr. Lutz, I'd like to turn it over to you concerning the revision to Policy 4400 and Policy 7503.
Okay. In the ever-changing climate that we are working in, we need to take away things that aren't working. So I'm bringing forth to you the attendance policy that we adopted specifically for COVID, and when all of our students were were attending in the online environment, for example. What we have found is that some of our attendance, we are struggling to get some of our students to attend classes online and in person. And so the in-person is always largely taking care of itself. If you're there, you need a note. If you aren't in school, you need a note, and so on and so forth. What I am asking is to modify our policy. It was the temporary rule for attendance on remote instruction. That's what we adopted during the when everyone was online. What I'm proposing is that K2 continue to follow the temporary rule for remote instruction, which they must complete their daily assignments either online or offline, or have a daily check-in through two-way communications with their homeroom. The reason why we need to keep that for K2 is it's hard to expect a kindergarten, first or second grade student to attend online if the parent isn't there to help support them. So we do have plenty of cases where our parents are working with our kids outside of the normal school day or on the weekend, and we need to allow them time to get their assignments in and so on and so forth. We did work with our virtual academy teachers. Ms. Reynolds currently is heading that group up, and while it is quite cumbersome to take attendance this way and to have assignments coming in, they believe it's in the best interest of children. We're asking that students in grades 3 through 12 must log into their virtual classroom during their scheduled class time. Students are unable to attend class in grades 3-5 must have a parent, guardian contact the homeroom teacher and provide a written excuse for the absence as required by Board Policy 4400. Students who are unable to attend class in grades 6-12 must contact the course instructor and provide the reason for the absence. That is no different than what we've ever done. We are modifying this in the hopes that our attendance increases. In addition, parents or guardians will provide the school with a written excuse for all absences as required by Board of Ed Policy 4400. This temporary rule will remain in effect until repealed by the board. So again, it's a modification of the language that we think is in the best interest of our students and our teachers in terms of tracking attendance and ensuring that we are coming to class.
Okay, I would like to make the motion that we accept the policy change, number 4400.
I make that motion for that.
You want to second it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
I do have a little bit of discussion.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Are we following the same guidelines for excessive absences in this temporary rule as we are in our normal attendance policy?
Yes, and so this will help tighten that. What we found it to be cumbersome, without going, I try not to get too far into the details. When you set up, Power School is how we take attendance. Elementary takes it one time a day. Middle and high school take it by period.
Uh-huh.
Does that help? So by doing this, it allows us, but we have 4 virtual times that students are to come online in the virtual academy. If they come in once to the very first one and don't come to anything else, they're counted as being in attendance, and that is not working out.
Right.
I just know that we're supposed to do certain things if they have 5 consecutive absences or 10 accrued.
Now, that's the D part, and that hadn't changed, right?
So to that end, we are going to be taking, it is on our list of summer activities, that we are going to take a long look at our attendance policy again, and I will be coming to the board with some revisions of that attendance policy as well.
So it's important for everyone to understand this is something that's temporary
This is temporary.
through COVID.
Correct.
And
Yes,
then
and
we'll
it
revisit
says that,
attendance.
right, yeah. I mean, we can see it, but,
Right,
it
just
will
to make
be
it
on
clear,
the.
right, to
I'm
everybody.
assuming that will also be on the policy part, so that it'll show that it's temporary.
It says, yep, it's the
Right.
temporary rule. So
Right.
that this is temporary. We do know that we need to revisit our attendance policy. There's some language in here that it makes it quite cumbersome on staff, and we need to remove some of that language, and we need to be more clear with our public as well in terms of what the expectation around attendance is.
I just have heard of several students not logging in and not doing well with virtual. And I just want to make sure that we're reaching out?
We are also reaching out to students that are struggling in the virtual environment and making direct contact. And when space allows, specifically for kids that are an academic risk, we are doing everything we can to have them re-enter school. Specifically for students that are at academic risk. Our space is limited in the K-5 arena and on busing, so we have to look at each case individually. And we wish we could open up and say if you want it, but we can't due to state class size law as well.
Okay.
Any news on when, if we're going back to option A?
There is various bills pending in the legislature, each one a little bit more confusing than the next. There has not been clarity given. The word is you're encouraged to have all of your middle and high school kids come back. Well, we have all of our kids back. We have it under the current guidelines as much as we can, which places middle and high school in B. Unless the guidance changes in the Safe Schools document, we cannot bring our middle and high school kids back under A.
I thought the governor said today during his conference that his team was working on putting together something in the near future. So maybe this is for schools. So maybe they're working on something.
There's a lot of discussion back and forth between the governor's office and the Senate and the House. It may be all the way until after spring break before we land on something, which is going to be right around the corner, towards the end of the school year. So I think we'll be watching that closely, and I'll make sure I have the board updated with any changes.
Okay. Any further discussion concerning policy number 4400? We have a first, we have a second, with no further discussion. Do I have a motion that that we approve?
We
Okay.
already have the
Okay,
motion.
all
Yeah,
in
we just need-
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I probably should have done those together, but we'll do them separate. Okay. And policy number 7503 concerning the teleworking.
The board adopted policy 7550, absences due to inclement weather, several years ago. When COVID came about, we adopted another policy on teleworking, 7503. When we had our snow day, there was some confusion because the teleworking policy used the term inclement weather. I'm asking that we strike inclement weather from the teleworking policy, and we will use policy 7550 as it pertains to inclement weather. It's really just a slight language change that allows us to be more clear with our employees about expectations, and again, in an attempt to streamline things rather than create more questions.
I make a motion that we approve this change to this policy.
Second.
Is there another part that was stricken?
Yes.
Teachers are on that component. Teachers are only eligible to telework. We struck that language because the language is already, it's cleaner in 7550. So we struck those two to the languages because 7550 is more, it's what our teachers are used to working under versus the teleworking policy, which is a more extensive policy meant to blanket for extensive work from home policy.
Okay. We have a first, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries for policy number 7503. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Do we need to go over the field trip request since they're included in the consent
It was
agenda?
for information only.
Okay, information only, okay.
I know that we had done that in the past, and I moved
Okay.
it to consent.
All right. Our upcoming work session will be held March 16th at the Knapp Professional Learning Center, starting at 4 p.m. And immediately following, we will have our 6:30 meeting here at the Currituck County Courthouse on the 16th of March as well. Board member and superintendent comments. Dr. Dobney, will you start us off?
Once again, I'd like to welcome Albert and Daniel, the student board members. Look forward to working with them. And speaking of student board members, in the daily advance, let's see, the Saturday through Monday, February 13th through 15th edition, it highlighted one of our former student board members, Mallory Fields.
Wow. Oh, okay.
And one of the interesting parts of the article, if you remember, Mallory was the vice president of the student body and then president, and it tells in there in the article that she was a write-in candidate because nobody else was running. So she got her friends to write her in as
Good for her.
Good for her.
And then the girl who was president left, so she became president.
Good. That's
Anyway,
wonderful.
she's at Virginia Tech now.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
That's great.
Great.
Also, I'd like to highlight teachers who received grants from the Currituck Educational Foundation. One, Brandy Boyd of Currituck County High School received a grant entitled Help Building a Reading Library for Adaptive Life Skills Students. And this was a mini grant that was sponsored by Allison DeCurvis of Currituck Area Holdings. Next teacher, Erica Phillips of Central Elementary Schools, was awarded a grant for pre-math skills for kindergarten readiness. Next, Jennifer Robinson of Moyac Middle School, and her project was titled Let's Get Sewing. Jill Turner of Central Elementary School was awarded a grant for clean water and sanitation, a global concern project. And last, Helen Taylor of Moyac Elementary School received a grant for sensory kits for kids. I think, speaking of grants and that to keep running, I think we need to get a grant for the construction class to start building an ark.
That's right.
I agree.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Dobney. Ms. Kraft?
Yes, I also am excited to work with Albert and Daniel. We welcome you and welcome all that you have to add to our board. There's lots of sports. I'm not even going to try to name the kids, but we've had swimming, state swimming awards. We've had volleyball awards. So I just commend all the students with everything that's going on right now with COVID and trying to wear a mask and all the things they're having to do. So I'm really excited for them and all that they're accomplishing with that. So congratulations to them. I went to Jarvisburg Elementary School in Griggs last week and just waved at the teachers and spoke to a few that were not busy. I always try to make sure if the door's closed, I don't go in because the disruption sometimes. But they're working so hard, and even in our remote people are working hard. I did step in one of those classrooms, and I just shook my head how they were even able to do that. As after working 25 years in a classroom, I can't even imagine trying to handle it over a computer. Anyway, our teachers, I'm really proud of them. They're working hard. Everybody, all the way through, is just doing a fabulous job, and I'm very proud of you and grateful that I'm here to represent you.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft. Ms. Peters?
Yes, I would like to congratulate Albert and Daniel as well and say that I'm excited to work with you and listen to all your input you have for us. I know you'll be a great asset to us. I also, last week, stopped in at Knott's Island Elementary and visited, and always great to go around and see all of our wonderful teachers and the kids, and they were all doing so well with their mask. And it was Bus Appreciation Week, and they were actually celebrating one of our bus drivers there, Ms. Hill, who And I know all the bus drivers in the county wear many hats, and that day she happened to be in the cafeteria helping out because, someone was out. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of our bus drivers. I know through this whole thing you've done so many different things, and as Dr. Lutz said, we did make sure everybody, or stayed working, and I think that was a great thing, and I know that they were all busy and did a great job. So thank you to all of our bus drivers. And let's see, I also want to give a shout out. I took the time to really talk to our custodian at Knott Salem, Miss Page. She did a great job. She gave me her whole schedule. She works from one end to another, and I just thought it was really good that she took a lot of pride in trying to help out, keep our school clean over there. And I can't wait to get around to all the other schools and meet everybody as well in the next coming months. So
Thank you, Ms. Peters.
thank you.
Appreciate that. Ms. Rose?
I'd like to give a shout out to Mary Santa, who amazingly, she and her students presented an outstanding virtual play that we were all able to enjoy. And our bus drivers, we did celebrate Bus Driver Week, the 7th through the 13th, and we are thankful for them getting our children to and from school safely. Our swim team, as Ms. Kraft said, we've had a lot of students go to the state level, but that swim team, what they were able to do, I forget how many times they were in the pool, but it wasn't many.
No, it wasn't.
Because they had to share the pool for practice, and some of the kids on there were first-time swimmers, and they just, hats off to Coach Buzzard and her swim team. And adopt a senior. I feel for our seniors. They are, it's just unfortunate what COVID's doing, but there is a Facebook page where we can put our senior students on there, and members of the community can adopt a senior and recognize them in small ways. So parents, I encourage you to do that for your senior. And Albert and Daniel, I am so happy that y'all are here with us. You both had great interviews, and I look forward to working with you and hearing your side of things.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Dr. Lutz?
Welcome, Daniel and Albert. I get to work with Daniel again. Albert, I'm working with you. I had Daniel when I was principal at the middle school. It leaves quite a lasting impression on people. All good. I promise. Let's see. Again, I want to mention the Board of Commissioners and our Board of Education meeting on the 23rd. We're really excited about the joint effort as we move forward with the strategic plan. Switching gears, we have had 18 COVID cases since our last board meeting. I wanted to bring that to you at the same time as legislation is pending saying that schools and the governor has encouraged everyone to come back. Again, we were patient in our approach. This board was patient with how we went about things, and we've been able to keep our schools open. Our high school's been open since the 25th, and it's certainly a change, but we are absolutely thrilled to have our kids back in the classrooms if they so choose. There is legislation pending on several bills that could affect the schools in terms of summer school, in terms of return date. Believe it or not, this is the time of year we start talking about the school calendar. We're going to sit tight on that school calendar until we get a little more clarity from the General Assembly. There's considerable discussion around a start date again of August 16th. We were fine with that start date. It allows us to finish our semester before Christmas. I think everyone liked that this year. I know that's been a long desire. At the same time, if summer school legislation does go through, is going to provide some challenges in terms of providing summer school and rolling into the next school year. So I'll keep our board and our community up to date when we get more information. And also want to announce that we received a DLI grant in the amount, so it's a technology improvement grant. I'm always struggling with the acronyms. Bottom line is we have a great opportunity to expand our leadership team, expand our district's ability to use technology. Sandy Reynolds and her group did a wonderful job of writing the grant. And I'll bring more information to you in our board emails that you get weekly, and I will also bring a further update to at the next board meeting or one in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lutz. Welcome, Daniel and Albert. I look forward to working with you both, and I congratulate you. I'd like to thank our Currituck County school bus drivers for their commitment and their dedication to our schools, our students. Last week was Bus Driver Appreciation Week, and I would like to publicly thank you all. One thing that I've heard about attendance, and it was funny that we had this on the agenda tonight, I would just like to read our attendance record. School officials, to be counted present during remote and virtual instruction days, students must log into their virtual classroom during their scheduled class time. Students who are unable to attend class in grades K through 5 must have a parent guardian contact the homeroom teacher and provide a written excuse for the absence as required by the Board of Education Policy 4400. Students who are unable to attend classes in grades 6 through 12 must contact the course instructor and provide the reason for the absence. In addition, parents, guardians will provide the school with a written excuse for all absences as required by the Board of Education Policy 4400. So I just want to urge, we're all in this together, as we've heard, but it takes all of us to move in a positive direction and to have positive results. Therefore, I urge the parents, the teachers, the staff, everyone to do their part. Make sure that you do log on, be on time, just like you would in person, whatever it is, be on time, be diligent about logging in. It makes the teacher's job a lot easier when they're not having to pause, take time out of their schedule to try to find you virtually. And I watched 2 of my grandchildren on Fridays, and it's always fun to see that component of education on how everyone's working together in the virtual world. And I thank you for that. I too am looking forward to our March 23rd joint meeting with the Currituck County Commissioners. I think we've got a lot of things to look forward to, and I really look forward to meeting with them. And at this time, if no one else has anything to discuss, I'd like to have a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Want a second? And I'm sure there's no discussion, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Have a good evening.